jump off. I think Sarah can hear us.
Oh, I don't mind either way, Lucy. I just didn't know
Okay.
if that was part of the conversation.
Yeah, I think I see all three screens on my recording. So I'm this is the first time I've done this type of recording. So I think it might just be easiest. I'm going to let you guys talk. I have seen this before where I look back on it and we might need to make some edits or something like that. But I've got two amazing gentlemen talking to each other. So you guys go for it. I'm going to keep the time, actually, Jason. So you guys don't need to worry about that. But I'm going to sit over here on the other side. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Enjoy.
You bet. Thank you.
How are you today, Mister?
I'm great. How are you, young man?
I am good.
Good. What year are you?
I am a junior right now.
Okay. Good. Good.
If you don't mind me asking, what year did you graduate?
1985.
Wonderful, wonderful time. Okay, so my first question is, what was it like to be a Thunderbolt?
It was a very engaging experience, I guess I would say now. I probably didn't recognize it as engaging then, but as I think back on it and reflect on it, Donovan, it was a neat time and great experience, certainly in my life, and undoubtedly has contributed to where I'm at now. Taught me a lot of life lessons. Obviously, I was very very fortunate to get a great educational foundation. So I was fortunate to be in. Back then, they were what did they call them? Gifted and talented classes or something. I think now they're college prep. But I was, fortunate to have some great folks there. Dick Jordan for American history and um, Ellen Marsh for English, and just a really really wonderful experience.
That's good to hear. Great to hear, actually. How do you yourself define Black excellence?
I would say Donovan, black excellence is no different than white excellence, right? Excellence is excellence. And so, as in my role here at Oklahoma State, we talk about a commitment to excellence. And what I impart on our students is we want you to come here and be your greatest self. And that's what we identify as excellence, and particularly with our underrepresented, underserved, and marginalized students. The first thing that I encourage our students is come to Oklahoma State University as an Oklahoma State University student. Don't come to Oklahoma State University as a black student, as a Latinx student. Come as an Oklahoma State University student first. And that's not suggesting that you deny your culture or your heritage. It's that you recognize that you're coming to be part of something um, that's really bigger than who we are, and just learn to embrace that. And as we do that, um, that's where the greatness emerges, because we don't limit how we see ourselves, and that in turn often prevents and precludes others from limiting how they see us.
That is wonderful. And I completely agree. Just be yourself and express yourself how you want to.
Absolutely.
Okay, third question. How did Manuel help you get to where you are today?
Um, certainly in a variety of ways, as I mentioned, academically, and the foundation that was there, particularly in terms of being prepared to go to college, and being ready to go to college. And that's something that we still see a lot of opportunities for growth for us, is the preparedness to come to college. My two older brothers both went to Manual, so it wasn't new to me when I got there. It was my own experience because they both had graduated by the time I was there. But that certainly gave me at a minimum an introduction to it, and so that helped the ability to be able to navigate it. Even as a 10th grader coming in, the ninth graders actually came to manual the year that I started in 10th grade, but prior to that it had been 10 through 12. But beyond the academic aspects of it, certainly the social aspects of it, again being uh, there were a handful of black students in the gifted and talent courses that we were in. Um, and so, if I recall correctly, it was James Harris and Christy Reynolds and I think Jennifer Sanderson. And so, across the various courses, we were typically the only black students in the particular courses, and so that um, was helpful in the sense of coming to a predominantly white institution at Oklahoma State as an undergrad. There weren't any perceptual barriers, I'll say, that I felt like I had to overcome. Because when you come and sit in a college class, and in 1985, it was still pretty frequent that I may have been one of a few black students in class. And so that never was something that became a focal point for me or inhibited me from being able to be successful. And so that's, again, one of those things that we still work with a lot of our students today to be able to navigate what it means to be there, right? The fact that you're in the college classroom, and and I don't know, I owe a lot to my parents, and they just instilled in us to, I'm here to learn, and so I can't, I never worried about who was watching or who else was there. It was my education, and I had to own it. And again, my parents helped instill that in me, but also a lot of people at Manual did that. From playing sports, and I did track with shot put and discus with Mr. Burrell, and we had a lot of great. Today we call them mentors. Back then they just saw themselves as our teachers and people who advocated for us to really at the time. Again, I didn't know it then, but now I know they were just you know encouraging and really seeking to motivate and inspire us to be our very best, and helped us do that. But Manual was certainly a neat experience. Growing up in North Denver, and at the time it was predominantly black, and Manual at the time I believe was slightly majority white, and so that in and of itself created a very unique um, educational environment as well. And so that undoubtedly contributed again to where I'm at today and how I'm able to uh, effectively and successfully, to the extent that I do, navigate the spaces and the roles that I'm responsible for.
Speaking of roles that you are responsible for, what was it like being a part of the Oklahoma State Regents?
Of the Oklahoma State Regents, you got to help me out with that, Donovan.
Um, uh, so I was reading a little bit of your bio, and so it says since January 2014, he also served as an appointed member by the chairman of the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education to the citywide Oklahoma NSF experimental program to stimulate competitive research.
Yeah, so that's so within the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Ed, which is the um, governing body for higher ed in the state of Oklahoma. So I served on the committee on the National Science Foundation EPSCoR committee, and so I was appointed to that committee by the chair of the state regents, but I wasn't actually on the state regents. So the state regents is a 9-member board, but in terms of just answering the question, so being able to serve on a statewide committee that has that level of responsibility is certainly something that becomes a new opportunity to learn and grow beyond where I was at. So I was my degree's in political science, and I'm a associate professor of political science. So I get to sit in the room with a bunch of STEM folks and really learn about things that I have no clue from a STEM perspective. But my role was the people part of it, and how do we uh, help facilitate the success of our underrepresented, underserved students in STEM disciplines. And so that's part of the program. So you saw in my bio the Oklahoma Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation program. And so I serve as the principal investigator for that program, which is a National Science Foundation grant program designed to increase the number of underrepresented minority students in the STEM fields. And so I've been very, very fortunate to uh, be able to help continue that program, not just here at OSU, but across the state. So it currently serves 12 institutions across the state. Um, and so again, what I encourage our students to do is engage in those experiences that are not familiar to us, because that's really how we learn. Uh, if I only go to political science talks, doesn't mean that I don't learn things and get smarter, but I only learn about political science. And so when I get to sit um, in the state EPSCoR meetings, for example, I get to learn things about science that I had no clue, but it also gives me the opportunity to then work to apply those things that I've learned to what I do every day. And so, just as a quick example, and I promise I'll stop, Donovan, but um, one of the state projects was on what's identified as wicked problems. And so, here in Oklahoma, we have obviously tornadoes, and but it's the grant was focused on how do we address some of these um, systemic environmental problems that uh, create all kinds of havoc, right? Not just on the environment, but on people when a tornado comes through, or flood, or you guys just had a pile of snow in Denver, which um, creates some havoc in society. And so how do you navigate that? And so listening to that presentation, it made me think about, and I ended up taking a bunch of notes during the talk, because the things that the scientists were working on and addressing were very relevant to what I do every day as vice president and chief diversity officer within the diversity, equity, inclusion space. And so that's just an example of why I encourage students to go see a chemistry talk sometime. And if you can take one thing out of that 45 minutes or an hour that you spent there listening, then it was worth it, because you became better as a result of that experience. So I'd say the moral of the story is being willing to open yourself up to new experiences and new opportunities. So I always tell students, and probably my kids too much, but in order to do something or achieve something that you've never done, you've got to be willing to do things that you've never experienced before. And so that's part of life, and just true in life. So well beyond education.
Okay, so I just have one last question for you.
Go ahead.
No, it's kind of short. What advice do you have to future students to future college students coming from anywhere in the country? Sorry, I can't speak English.
Yeah, well, I would say, just in talking to you first and foremost, Donovan, because we've got this opportunity, and I'm delighted to have it, and appreciate you being willing to talk to some old guy for a few minutes. But I would say first and foremost, as we look at Manual, is to take advantage of what's there at Manual. You mentioned that you've got a great library and a wonderful space to be and learn and soak up all the knowledge that you can, right? That's in the books and the opportunities that are there in front of you that you can literally put your fingers on. And so I would first say, take advantage of that, because that's an opportunity that's right in front of you. The other thing is to use the resources around you that help you get better. And again, what I tell students every day is, right, how we get better is using those resources that are around us. And there's a lot of resources around us that don't cost us a thing, except asking the question and reaching out and being willing to spend the time and take advantage of the opportunity. So a lot of times we get stuck in not wanting to engage in a new experience because it may cost too much, or I've never done that before. And what I would say is, now's the time in your life when you absolutely get to engage in things that come in front of you that may not always be there. And you never know where those experiences, one, what they'll provide to you in terms of a benefit, and two, where they'll help you end up. And so just, continue to ask questions. What I always tell students is, be bold and courageous, and be willing to embrace greatness, because in each and every one of you, right, greatness resides there. It's just up to you to let it out, and not be afraid of it when it shows up, and enjoy the ride. And so that's the 2 cents that I would provide. But just you know get a sense of where you want to be. It's great to have goals and plans, and really focus on things, but also, learn to be flexible and adaptable. I wanted to be a lawyer. I grew up on the corner of 34th and York, and since I was about 7 or 8, my parents always said, I'd said I want to be a criminal defense lawyer to defend the rights of people around me that I felt like weren't treated the way they should. And I was going to ride the number 20 bus from my house there at 3420 York to the DU Law School, which was on the other end of town, straight down York to Turndon University. And I think they subsequently moved the law school, but I think they moved it back to that campus. But right, that was my goal and my dream and my vision. And when it was time for me to go to law school, I didn't get into law school. And so I had to figure out something else. And the something else ended up being going back to graduate school and start teaching, and fell in love with teaching. And as I say, Donovan, the rest is history. But, just be willing to understand that, the best laid plans don't always work out the way that we intend them to. But again, see it as an opportunity, and take advantage of it, and move forward, and make it work for you.
Of course, of course. So I just want to say thank you for your time and your insight. It was wonderful speaking with you and learning from you. And I just want to appreciate, thank you for that opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you please feel free to reach out. And Lucy's got my email information, and reach out if I can help and assist. So what do you want to do? I know I've only got a few
I
minutes.
know I'm not being a very good timekeeper.
No, you're fine.
You guys were doing such a nice job here and giving such great advice. I didn't want to stop it. So, but you were asking Donovan what he wants to do.
As of right now, I want to go into a mathematics field. So somewhere along the lines of engineering, or even just getting a math major so I can go out into the world, real estate, architecture. somewhere around those lines where I can help the world. But also, if I have the opportunity, I would love to play college football. I feel like that's something I always wanted to do, and I feel like it would be a great opportunity for me just as a person. So that's where I'm sitting at right now.
Okay. Well, it's within your reach, and so you just have to, look around you again, use the resources around you, and figure out the decisions that you think are best for you right now, but also rely on people. You're a young man. You've seen life, but I'll tell you the same thing I tell other students and my kids. My daughter is 22 and my son is 19, and I tell them that you know about this much about life right now, and so rely on people around you um, who you recognize are invested in you. And one of the benefits you asked me about manual was that one of the things that was beneficial to me is that I realized there were people that were invested in me. I had to do the work and get through it and go to class and all those things, but there were people invested in me that believed in me, and that really, helped guide me. Sometimes without ever even saying it, and so just learn to be attuned to when the hairs stand up on the back of your neck or you get a funny feeling in your gut, take a pause and pay attention to that, and don't there's no perfect decisions in life, and so but once you make one, be comfortable with it and move forward with it, and again, just embrace the greatness that's headed your way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the insight.
You bet, my pleasure, and love to do this again sometime. So when you start getting to your next year and start looking at colleges and universities, which I'd encourage you to explore now. And I'll just toss in a plug that Oklahoma State has an incredible engineering program, top-rated architecture program, and a brand new building, and um, have the largest undergraduate engineering research lab in the country. It's called Endeavor, uh, and so I wouldn't be doing myself justice if I didn't at least make a pitch for a great young man like yourself to take a look at Oklahoma State University. So, but and again, if I can help answer any questions along your way as you get into your senior year and really start looking at institutions and thinking about things and want to ask questions, don't hesitate to reach out, Donovan.
Of course. Well, thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful day. It was a pleasure talking to you.
You as well, young man. You as well. Great to know that Manuel's still cranking out outstanding young men, especially outstanding young black males. So you keep it up, and all the best to you.
All the best to you as well.
I'm sure y'all will be in touch. Jason, thank you so much. Dr. Kirksey, Donovan, until you guys speak again.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Take care.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you.
You go.
All right. Now I gotta go to class.
Yeah, you do.
I heard that bell ring.
I know, honey. What, you can't end this video call yet because you want to end the call. Okay. No, I'm going to record. You go to class.
Okay.
I got to stop. Donovan, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Isn't he amazing?